My name is Mike Nelson. Although I spend the majority of my time on dry land, I make most of my living anywhere from 10 to, 200 feet underwater. Alardia alardi is a little fish of the Triacanthidae family. It's only about, 5.5 inches long, but, well, it's important enough for marine land to send me halfway around the world in search of some living specimens. Alardia lives in the deep waters of the West Indies, and from 1861 to 1925, there was only one in captivity. It was my job to secure a new supply. It was time for a break, so I started for the surface to replenish my air supply. At that same moment, more than 1,000 miles away, a test missile was heading for the ionosphere at about 18,000 miles an hour. There seems little connection between an ICBM streaking through the sky and a little fish with a big name on the floor of the Caribbean. But the connection that developed put me in a very tight spot. A very tight spot. It was just about 26 hours later that things began to happen.
Hi. Hi. You Mike Nelson?
Yeah, that's right.
I'd like to see you for a minute.
Okay, come on aboard.
Thanks.
Yeah. We know one another?
Well, my name's John Sumner. You've worked for my firm before.
Oh, yeah. A little project called World War #2.
Mike, tell me, what do you know about rockets and missiles?
Rockets, missiles. Well, only when I read in the papers, pick up here and there.
If I start talking about the nose cone of a rocket, you know what I mean?
Well, it's the business end of the rocket, isn't it?
That's right. Well, we fired an experimental missile yesterday to test our progress in the development of a nose cone that will survive the plunge back through the Earth's atmosphere, after the rocket's spent. Well, as you probably know, the friction from such a plunge generates enough heat to disintegrate most objects before they strike the Earth. Like the meteor.
Uh-huh.
Well, we think we have a metal that will not only survive the heat, but has enough resistance to protect the internal mechanism. Keep it intact and operating. But there's only one problem.
What's that?
We have to recover the nose cone to find out. And it didn't land where it was supposed to.
Do you know where it did fall?
According to our tracking device, it landed within a few square miles of where we are right now, at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh. Yeah, but a couple of miles, that's a lot of space in the ocean.
I know. It's a tough job, but I've heard if anybody can do it, you can.
Oh, our Navy, much better equipped for that kind of a job than I am.
Well, territorial waters could be involved. See, the Navy can't go poking its nose into some other nation's backyard.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it possible that somebody around here saw it fall?
There's a possibility. And that possibility puts even more pressure on us. That nose cone mustn't fall into the wrong hands. Well, how about it, Mike? We in business?
Well, I need help. Somebody that I can trust. And, I need more equipment.
Well, we've anticipated all the problems. You'll be on the pier tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Someone will contact you. Okay?
Okay. The next morning, I was on the pier on schedule, waiting for my contact to make himself known. Who would it be? It could be any of these people. I felt that it would be a surprise. It was.
Hello. Are you Mike Nelson?
Yeah?
You're a hard man to find. I've been looking all over for you this morning. I'm Kathy Morton.
How do you do, Miss Norton?
I've been studying photography, and I want to do some underwater pictures. I'll need some expert advice and assistance.
Well, I'm sorry, Miss Norton. I'd really love to help you, but I'm working on an assignment for Marineland of the Pacific, and it's a full-time job.
But my work's really quite good, Mr. Nelson. As a matter of fact, I have a little picture here I'm rather proud of. Took it about 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's a nice shot, Miss Norton. Shows good technique.
I was hoping you'd feel that way.
But you know, you could have all kinds of possibilities as a photographer and still not be able to shoot good pictures underwater. That calls for a special kind of experience. Underwater.
I think I've had enough experience to get by.
How about equipment?
Well, what would I need?
There's certain items. Listen, why don't we get on my boat, huh? I'll see what I have in hand.
Fine.
Our meeting on the pier was kind of on the cloak and dagger side, don't you think?
Well, it'll tell a lot of people that I've hired you to teach me to take underwater pictures.
Yeah. You even have an underwater camera to prove it, huh?
Does look like a camera, doesn't it?
What do you mean, isn't it?
There's a pulsating device in that nose cone we're looking for. If the nose cone survives the heat, it'll send out a signal. That's actually a receiving set to pick up the signals.
Oh, what do you know? Hey, those signals from the nose cone. How far do they carry underwater?
Oh, anywhere from a few hundred yards to a quarter of a mile.
Depending on the conditions, huh?
Mm-hmm. When we get within range, it'll tick like a Geiger counter. The closer we get to the nose cone, the louder that ticking.
You sure threw me a curve, you know that?
Oh?
Yeah. I didn't expect to meet a girl.
Well, I guess they thought it'd cause less suspicion that way.
Yeah, I can buy that, but what if something happens, if we get into trouble?
Don't worry about me. I'm really an expert skin diver. And I teach judo.
A few hours later, we were on our way to cover what Sumner described as a few square miles of ocean floor. A handy job in anybody's language. 5 minutes later, the search was on. The ocean floor is an erratic place. Sometimes flat, sometimes almost mountainous. Every inch of it had to be covered. And up to now, the detector remained as quiet as a tomb. In the excitement, we didn't notice an outboard motorboat riding the waves about a mile from us. There were 3 fishermen in the boat. Or were they fishermen?
They're still submerged. The woman is on the deck waiting for him. Wait a moment. Ah, yes. The man is starting to surface now.
Nothing. Nothing.
To cover the most territory in the shortest possible time, we were alternating our dives. The area kept getting wider and further from shore. Good luck, huh? In the meantime, I discovered that Kathy was no novice at skin diving. Then came the reward of patience and perseverance. The detective picked up a faint ticking noise, which answered a lot of questions. Kathy's instructions were to surface if she got a reaction on the detector. And Kathy knew how to obey instructions.
It's down there. I got a faint signal about 50 yards east of here.
Good, good. I'll go down and find it and tie on a marker buoy. There. Now you watch for the buoy and bring the boat over to me, huh?
All right.
The man is apparently getting ready to make another dive in the same spot. This could be what we're waiting for. Let's get within striking distance.
The detector turned out to be a honey. A few feet in the wrong direction and it pulls you right back. Finally, it led me right to the nose cone of the missile, straight as a homing pigeon. A marker buoy is a handy thing to have around in a case like this. Just tie it to some object and release it. It'll surface and permanently identify your location. I was pinned to the ocean bottom with 6,000 pounds of metal across my legs. But Kathy had no way of knowing that I was pinned solidly to the ocean floor. I wasn't even sure whether or not my legs were broken. Kathy spotted the marker buoy and brought the lock over to it. But she had no way of knowing that I was solidly pinned to the floor of the ocean with only about 10 minutes of air left in my tanks.
Now they're both submerged.
Well, now we should go then.
Yes. Keep going.
I signaled Kathy that I had about 3 minutes of air left in my tank. She signaled back that her tank was full. The 3 minutes of air in my tank would give Kathy time to get to the surface and give me more time to try and free myself. So we exchanged tanks.
There's the marker buoy. And 2 sets of bubbles. Marky, I think you better get aboard their boat in case of emergency. Take us over there.
Then I signaled Kathy to surface and bring down a crowbar. It looked like my only chance. In her anxiety to help me, Kathy didn't notice the men in the outboard motorboat.
No, lady, that's all for you. Stay where you are. I'll have to shoot. Get her!
This man found that it would take some doing to bring Kathy back to the boat when she almost broke his wrist with a crowbar.
Get that woman!
Kathy just managed to fasten the crowbar to the marker buoy line before she turned to fight off the two men. The crowbar slid down the marker buoy line and landed on the ocean floor, but just out of my reach. She put up a real good fight. But finally, with one man hanging to each arm, she was forced to give up.
Bring her here.
I knew that something must have happened to Kathy, or she would have brought the crowbar down herself and given me a hand.
Now, let's not be childish about this. You must understand we have a job to do, and we intend to do it. You have located the nose cone, have you not?
The main question seems to be, what right do these men have to drag me aboard your boat?
Mr. Nelson is down there, isn't he?
Down where?
Down there. Obviously somebody is, or there wouldn't be those bubbles.
All right, I'll tell you the truth. Mr. Nelson is down there, but he's in trouble. If you let me put on my diving gear, I can go down and help him. Then if you have any questions, maybe he can answer them for you.
How deep is he?
About 120 feet.
Can you dive to that depth? No.
Well?
I feel better with you on the surface, and Mr. Nelson unaware that we're waiting for him. I think we just sit tight for a while and see what happens.
Captain Nelson can't stay down there indefinitely. What are you going to do about it? Well, you can't just let him die.
On land, it would have been impossible for me to move the nose cone from the awkward position that I was in. But water gives any object a certain buoyancy. And I had to get that nose cone off my legs, or else. My legs were practically numb, but there were no broken bones. Now, the big question was, what was happening on the surface? From about 40 feet, I could see the bottom of a small boat riding the surface near the marker buoy. And all of a sudden, Kathy's failure to come down and help me made sense. It was then that I remembered Sumner had said the nose cone must not fall into the wrong hands. And the thought occurred to me that if some unfriendly group was waiting for me at the surface, my air bubbles would classify me as a sitting duck. So I tied my diving lung to the marker buoy line and set the valve to allow a little leakage. Then it was up to me to make the surface in one breath. The men were so busy watching the bubble that they didn't notice me climbing aboard my boat. The best answer to this problem was my shark gun.
All right, you guys, put your hands up.
You heard what he said. Put up your hands.
You won't need those oars anymore. Throw them overboard. Kathy, how much gasoline they got?
Pretty low, Mike.
Come on aboard, Kathy. Good job, Kathy. There.
Thank you.
Keep them covered. And make a little claw. X-223 to Happy Friend. X-223 to Happy Friend.
This is Happy Friend. Go ahead, X-223.
Location 13 miles west of Heston Light, outside of all territorial waters. Project X-223 in operation. 3 men in a small boat drifting out to sea will need help and investigation. Over.
Over and out.
While the outboard motorboat was slowly drifting towards the setting sun, we set out to complete our job. When we went down again to bring up the tip of the nose cone, it was a mighty comforting feeling to know that when we got to the surface, we'd find a United States destroyer waiting for us, and not 3 gentlemen who use bullets for bait.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Bridges, inviting you to join us for another action-packed story of underwater adventure 1 week from today.
sea is full of natural wonders, but some of the strangest things in it were devised by men, like the two-man submarine that I was testing with my friend Bill Kruger. Strange as the sub was, the way I would soon use it was even stranger. In a cove near San Diego, we were giving the midget sub a real workout. Bill was developing it to sell to the Navy. He'd done a good job. With its silent electric motor, it could carry 2 men, equipped with diving lungs, about 15 miles at a fair speed. It still had some flaws. The doors, designed for quick escape in emergencies, were sometimes opened by changes in pressure. And the controls weren't perfect yet. I enjoyed helping Bill, especially as I could see the value of this small craft for surprise attacks and secret missions. Not that I intended to go on any. I figured those days were in the past for me. I thought that we were testing the sub secretly, but I was mistaken.
About to beach her.
Well, what do you think of her now?
She answers nicely to controls now, but we still got a little work to do on pitch characteristic. I got an idea. We'll get it back to the shop and I'll show you what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Which one is Nelson?
The one with the rope.
Do you think you can get him to do it?
You, not me. I got no part of this. You know, it could cost him his life.
Laszlo is willing to do it.
Well, Laszlo's got his own reasons. I don't think Nelson will go for it. But then you're a very pretty girl.
Men don't do things like this just because a woman smiles at them.
Some do.
Hey, is there somebody up there?
I don't know. Take a look, see. Something I can do for you?
I was on my way down to the beach.
Yeah?
I wanted to...
Get a closer look. I'm sorry, miss. Our equipment we're testing isn't for public demonstration.
I know that, but you are Mike Nelson, aren't you?
Yeah, that's my name.
Mr. Nelson, I need you and your submarine.
Submarine. So, you were watching us, huh? What's your name?
Maria Wenzel.
Do you live around here?
Yes, I stay at Bayside Hotel.
Bayside Hotel. Where's that?
Oh, well, the address is on the door key. Somewhere here. Oh, here it is.
Mind if I look at your binoculars?
I guess you got quite a look at our sub, huh?
But I wasn't spying.
Then you wouldn't mind if I kept these for a while, would you?
Why? What for?
For your fingerprints. A federal agent might be interested in this.
Maria.
Who are you?
Federal agent?
Now, why all the mystery? Why didn't you tell me that you were a federal agent?
Oh, she isn't. But there's no official connection between her and me. I just brought her to you as, say, a personal favor.
Why?
Because we have access to privately owned submarine.
Well, what's that got to do with it?
Did you tell him who your father is?
Hey, Mike, is everything all right?
Yeah, okay, Bill. Be with you in a minute.
You see, my father is John Wenzel, the astronomer and mathematician.
John Wenzel. He's more dangerous to this country than the H-bomb.
But suppose he were working for the United States. For this country, I mean.
What do you mean?
Mr. Nelson, I would like that you help my father to escape to this country. That submarine you've been testing would be just ideal for our plan.
Well, what your plan is, Miss Wenzel, but, it seems to me that it's more of a job for your outfit than for me.
Our hands are tied. Our government maintains a supposedly friendly relationship with his country.
Well, I wish you luck, Miss Wenzel, Mr. Rawson. But count me out, Cloak and dagger is not my line. That's it.
Oh, Mr. Nelson.
After I left Bill and returned to the Marineland Pier, another surprise was waiting for me on the dock.
Mr. Nelson.
Yeah?
May I speak to you for a moment?
What do you want? What can I do for you?
I should like to consult you professionally.
Wait a minute, aren't you, isn't your name Eugene Laszlo? Last year's Nobel Prize winner in physics?
Guilty. Will you join me?
That's my pleasure.
The scientific ship on which John Wenzel will be is scheduled to leave Vladivostok midnight, June the 12th. It will proceed so. Down the Sea of Japan into the Pacific, turning immediately to the 40th meridian of latitude here. It will then proceed easterly on the same meridian. On July the 12th, the ship will reach the 180th meridian of longitude here.
What's the mission of this ship?
To track the orbit of the Earth's newest artificial satellite from a certain given position.
It's a spot right here, where you're going to take Wenzel off the ship.
That'll be our best chance.
It's about 3,000 miles from Japan, about 2,000 from Hawaii. Boy, that's in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. They will be least suspicious then of an attempt to rescue Wenzel.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Tell me, how accurate is all this information that you have?
Completely accurate. To the last dot.
I believe you gentlemen have met.
Yes, I believe we have.
How are you?
Mr. Ross.
Mr. Rawson has checked my information carefully.
Through our own channels. It's 100% accurate.
Tell me, how do you propose to reach the rendezvous point?
A fishing vessel from Midway Island.
Tell me this. Why a midget submarine? Why not use a rubber landing raft to get from the fishing boat to Wenzel's ship?
Because the ship will be under security. Its radar would reveal the approach of the surface boat.
Well, what about sonar? That'll take the submarine.
In shark-infested waters, their sonar would easily mistake your submarine for a fish.
But suppose that you finally do manage to come alongside of the ship. A person can't just go wandering around a hostile ship looking for John Wenzel.
That brings us to how the whole project started.
It started with me.
Miss Wenzel. Hello again.
I'm sorry I went about it in the wrong way. I should have let Professor Laszlo approach you first.
Mr. Nelson was just raising the question of how
I heard about the ship my father will be on. You see, the naval architect who designed the ship escaped to America 6 months ago. He drew the plan of it from memory for me. Since we know that my father is head of the mission, we know exactly in which cabin he will be and how to reach it. Well, have you told Mr. Nelson about plan?
Everything. But he hasn't said he would help us.
Well, I have no right to urge you, Mr. Nelson, because you'll be risking your life. I can only ask.
There's no money in it. The government can't even give you a medal.
I'll go with you.
No, your life is too valuable.
Not in this cause.
You know, for something like this, I don't think that Bill Kruger would mind if I risked his submarine.
I'll do it.
Mr. Nelson, one.
An ocean liner took us the first 2,000 miles of our trip. The sub, with its delicate equipment, had to be watched every minute, especially when we moved it. In Honolulu, we transferred to a smaller vessel.
Keep it coming. Okay, Doc. Good. Easy now. Easy, easy, easy. That's it. Good, good, Doc.
While I checked and rechecked the equipment, I wondered if Maria's information would prove accurate. And even if it did, my chances of success looked slim. But I had made my choice. During the long days at sea, I had plenty of time to memorize the plans of Dr. Wenzel's ship. Finally, we reached our destination, dropped anchor, and could make out our target several miles away, just where we expected it. That evening, we lowered the sub alongside, and our weeks of preparation came to an end. Now everything was up to this strange craft, and to me. First few miles, I stayed close to the surface. The sub handled well, but I had no way of knowing if the ship's sonar would detect my approach. I kept my course straight for the ship. When I had come in as close as I thought I could near the surface, I began a deep descent. Again, right alongside the ship, slipped out of the sub, and quietly swam to the boat. Unfortunately, the moon was bright. It was late at night, and the ship looked deserted. As a cloud covered the moon, I climbed over the rail. There was no one on deck, but the moon was out again, so I had to get below quickly. And thanks to Maria's plans, I knew exactly where to go.
is that?
I'm from your daughter, Maria. Listen to me. I'm from your daughter, Maria.
My daughter?
Yes.
And my friend reached America? Reached Maria?
Yes, I've come to get you off.
But here in the middle of the Pacific, how did you?
I'll explain. Now, this is...
And how do I know that you're really from her?
Here.
Oh, yes. Yes, my little baby. I remember. But how did you get on and how are we to get off?
All right, I've got a small submarine tied into the stern. Now, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to breathe through this.
Oh, this is the diving lung. I'm familiar with its principle, but not its use.
Well, I'm going to give you a fast lesson. First, this mask, huh? Put it like this over your nose, huh? You try it. That'll be the best way. Take off the glasses.
Yeah, I'm in your hands.
Right here. Be sure that it fits tight against your face, huh? No, below your nose. So that no water will get into your nose, and so that you'll be able to see. If any water does get in there, press tight, lightly there. That's right, and exhale hard through your nose, like this. That's good. Now that'll bring the water down to the bottom of the mask here. All right, now the mouthpiece here. Let me take this off. But remember, you won't be able to breathe through your nose because you'll have this on all the time, all the way in your mouth. And grip those little things with your teeth. That's it. Now suck in. No, not so fast. Just normally. Just normally. That's right. And never hold your breath.
Suppose water gets into my mouth by accident.
If that happens, blow hard like this through the mouthpiece. That's right. That'll drive it out. Then just continue sucking as you did before. That's all there is to it.
But where's my tank with the air?
It's in the submarine. You think you got it?
I think so. Shall I take off my clothes?
No, you're going to be exposed to the water. This will help keeping your body heat.
Oh, good. Now let's go. One moment.
There's a question here, Wenzel, which I
was about to retire. Can't it wait until morning?
It is a simple question. It wouldn't take a minute. Now, I had it here a moment ago. My calculations agreed with yours. So I went over your figures. I knew we couldn't be so far apart in our final results. Now, where is this particular place? It was
let's
somewhere
correct it
here.
in the morning, huh?
No. It is here somewhere. I'll get it. Now, the way you have written this factor, Wenzel, something is leaking.
We are not sinking now. What was it?
But,
it was from the towel. It fell into the sink, and it was dripping. Now, you're absolutely wrong about my making an error.
Everybody makes mistakes. Now, look for yourself.
But of course, you are perfectly right. I should have written the angle of declination as plus 906.8.
I caught you for once.
My apologies, Gordon.
I never thought I'll see the day.
I hope this is the last mistake I make on this voyage. Good night, Gordon.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
I shall go first. At each turn, I shall signal whether it's clear.
All right.
I just wanted to ask you.
Give me something to try and gag him with.
Please, let go of him. Please, there are stronger ties than a rope. Let him go. I'm sorry, Gordon, but you surprised us.
But what?
This man has come to spirit me off the ship in a submarine to America.
Incredible.
No, but we were about to go when you came in.
Quickly. I suppose it is credible.
The only question, Gordon, will you let us go peacefully?
Will you take me too?
No, I'm sorry. There's only room for two of us in the boat.
Then, good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Perhaps my turn will come too.
Professor.
Do you have a match? Thank you. It's a beautiful night. It's only here, away from the city, one can see the real beauty of nature. And look, when we will be able to travel with the speed of light, it will take us 100,000 years to go from one end of the Milky Way to another.
Yes.
And another thing, when we look at the stars, we look not only into the distance, but back into time.
What's that?
It's the fish.
It seemed to come from the stern.
No, it comes from over there. Here, what did I tell you? It's the fish. It is Shayot and Triangulus or Holocontus. They're contus. I have never seen one. Have you?
But I see something down there.
No, it is the fish, you know. The fish. Don't you so? Wait!
Hey, but what's that?
You see, it is the Delphinus dephis, or the common dolphin.
But I heard a splash.
Ah, they are very playful, you know.
Good night, Professor.
Good night.
It took some time to get Dr. Wenzel's diving lung adjusted and for him to get used to it. And we went off as fast as the sub could go. A few hours later, we were alongside another ship. It wasn't very different from the other, but this one meant freedom for Dr. Wenzel.
There's the Swoboda.
I waited a long time.
Welcome to the West.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Bridges, inviting you to join us for another action-packed story of underwater adventure 1 week from today.
I was diving off the west coast of Florida, helping out some friends, Marie and Alex Kouros. They were in business for themselves, doing a job that their families had done before them for generations. Sponge diving. I was at the bottom, carrying a net for the sponges and a claw to help gather them. My air supply was running low, and I was about to surface when I heard a strange sound, like bells. I figured that I must have been down too long, that my imagination was playing tricks on me. Then I saw a cave nearby, and the music seemed to be coming from it. As I swam toward the cave, the music grew louder. Suddenly, some powerful force pushed me toward the rocks like a giant hand. I was being sucked into the cave. I held on with all my might to the ledge above the opening and finally squeezed over it to safety. But I had been knocked around like a leaf. Air and sunshine never seemed better than at that moment. My friends in the boat were nearby. I knew they'd be worried, knowing that I didn't have much air left. Myself a scare, too. What happened? Well, you won't believe me, and don't laugh at me. But I think I heard bells and music down there.
The Cave of the Mermaid. We must be right on top of it.
Wait a minute, my ears are stopped up. I'd have sworn you said something about mermaids.
Yeah, I did.
Are you kidding?
Alex is not joking, Mike. The bones of my Uncle Elias are down there with her right now.
Now wait a minute. This is America. We're in the 20th century. You were born here. You went to school here.
Yeah, we don't believe in old wives' tales and childish superstitions either, but there's something down there.
But there is a thing that looks like a woman, and it lives in that cave beneath us, and it kills divers.
You saw it?
No, but many others have.
Where are they?
They're dead. They heard the music and they were dragged into the cave and they never came up.
Well, if they're dead, how did you hear about it?
Well, there were some that heard the music and then escaped like you did.
Okay. But I didn't come up with any fairy tales about a mermaid.
Nick Demetrius was pulled into the cave, and then by a true miracle, he got out.
Demetrius saw her. She smiled at him.
Nick Demetrius? The old man who roams around the docks?
Mike, Nick Demetrius is not an old man. I was already diving when he was still called the best diver in Tarpon Springs.
Now his hair is white and his hands shake, and he wanders around mumbling to himself.
All because of the mermaid, huh?
Yes. She couldn't kill him, so she drove him mad. When I see him now, it breaks my heart.
Oh.
Hey, Mike, where are you going? Hey, you're not thinking of going back down there again, are you?
Yeah. I got a date with Nick's girlfriend.
Mike, you don't understand. We have sometimes made jokes among the three of us, but now we're serious.
You can believe the stories or not, but there's great danger down there.
Sure, there's an underwater current down there. It's very dangerous.
Well, isn't that enough to stop you?
Nope. Not after that fantastic story you both told me. This I gotta see for myself.
Mike, please, I beg of you, don't go.
Oh, don't you worry your pretty little head now. I got a good manila rope there. Alex will make a lifeline for me.
A safety line? Mike, most of the men that died down there were sponge divers. They had safety lines and a full crew to help them. I don't want any part of this.
Nor I.
Well, okay. I'll do it without your help.
Mike, you're nothing but a big, stubborn fool.
Well, I'm not big enough fool to believe that story about a mermaid.
All right, all right. If you're so set on getting yourself killed, I'm not going to stand in your way. What do you want me to do?
Oh, that's the right attitude. Throw the end of the line down to me, huh? As I approached the cave, I began to hear the bells once more. But I wasn't frightened because the current didn't seem as strong as before, and this time I had a safety line. Alex and Marie weren't giving me much slack, and I came to the end of the line only a few feet from the cave. I decided to take the risk to investigate and cut the line. It was a bad mistake. In the next instant, the tremendous current swept against me again, pushing me toward the rocks. I held onto the ledge for my life, hardly knowing what I was doing.
Marie, come here! The line's gone slack. Something's happened to Mike.
Oh, no. Alex, what are you going to do? Now, stop it.
Finally, I scrambled over the ledge again. And almost automatically, I opened my rescue parachute. Inflated it with air. Dropped my weight belt and slowly floated toward the surface.
No, I won't let you go, Alex.
Let me go, Marie.
Please, he's dead. You'll only kill yourself.
Somebody's got to save him.
Daddy, he's dead. There's nothing you can do. Look.
Hang on there, Rob.
You got my tank?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Come on, Mike. Are you badly hurt? What happened, Mike? Come on. Sit over here.
ex-girlfriend. She'll put up a good fight.
We warned you, Mike, but you wouldn't listen.
Hurts, huh?
Only when I laugh. Oh.
We're going in. You need a doctor.
Oh, now relax. I'm not that bad off.
You have with a couple of broken ribs.
I'm going to have to do a lot more planning in advance before I tackle that cave again.
Again? Alex, Mike is going back again.
Mike, are you out of your mind?
Yeah, maybe I am. You know that novel, Moby Dick?
Yes.
Well, now I know how Captain Ahab felt about the white whale. I was back in Tarpon Springs. My ribs weren't broken, but I was pretty bruised. I tried to get interested in other projects, but somehow I just couldn't stay away from that harbor. I walked around aimlessly, looking at the boats and the water. The Mermaid's Cave kept haunting my thoughts, and those strange bells kept ringing in my ears. I knew that I was going to have to return to that cave and solve the mystery. It'd be dangerous, but all our knowledge of the sea comes from people who are more curious than afraid. And to break the power of this local superstition would be a worthwhile achievement.
You Mike Nelson?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm Nick Demetrius. You didn't see her, did you?
No, I didn't.
But you heard the music.
I think I did.
You heard the music. You heard the music. You still hear it.
Tell me, what happened to you?
I don't like to talk about it.
Yeah, I understand. But it'd be a great favor. Please, I need your help.
They said I was the best diver in Tarpon Springs. Maybe I was. But I had to keep on proving it. Anyway, I knew about the legend of the Mermaid Cave. And I had even heard funeral bells ring where there should have been no sounds like that at all. The woman in the cave was supposed to pull men down to their death. But the cave was suddenly there, only a few steps away, and nothing was pulling me. I was a sponge diver, the best sponge diver. And maybe the sponges for which I searched were in the cave. All at once, something was pulling me down, something I could not see to fight against, and then I saw her. She seemed to smile as the cold hands of the dead men pulled me toward her. Was torn apart. Then water came into my helmet, choking me. Then everything was black. The darkness ended for me many days later in a hospital room in Tarpon Springs. And I was as you see me now. Since then, I live in a bad dream. I hear the bells and I feel the cold hands pulling me. And always, I see her face.
Nick? There must be some sensible explanation for what happened to you.
She had a beautiful face, Mr. Nelson. But you're a lucky man. You did not see it.
Nick Demetrius' story was a terrifying one, but I learned something from it. Afterwards, I collected and read everything that I could about tidal movements and underwater currents in that area. I studied the available charts of the ocean bottom, and I figured and refigured all the possibilities. I had a theory, but there was only one way of testing it. And if I was mistaken, well, I wouldn't discover that mistake until I died in the cave.
Hi, Mike. How do you feel?
Hi, Alex. Well, I'm as good as new, boy.
Good. Hey, what's all this stuff?
This is the key to the Mermaid Cave.
Oh, no, Mike, you can't.
Come here. Take a look at this chart. We've never found any sponges in this area here, have we?
No.
The bottom is as clean as if it's been swept by a broom, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You know why?
Well, that's the way that leads to the cave. Mike has got the hand of death.
No, stop it. No, this is a tidal basin, a small one.
So what does that prove?
It proves that Demetrius and Maria's uncle, Elias, and all those divers had the right idea instinctively. There are sponges in this cave.
Are there?
I think there are. See, there's strong currents that run through this basin, and they drag everything in front of them into this cave.
Just like they'll drag you. Look, maybe there are sponges in that cave, but as far as I'm concerned, they can stay there till Judgment Day. I don't want any part of it. You say that the currents account for the men who were trapped and died in there?
Yeah. That's right.
Well, what accounts for the ringing in the bells and that woman that Nick Demetrius saw?
I'll have the answer to those two questions as soon as I come up from the grotto.
Yeah, if you come up from the grotto. Say, Mike, would two men have a better chance down there than one?
Thanks, Alex, but I wouldn't want to take any chance like that. I might be able to escape the wrath of the mermaid, but certainly not your wife's.
So there is something you're afraid of, huh?
Obviously, I'm still a bachelor.
Well, when do we leave?
No, now, Alex.
We'll take my boat. Look, I can be the pilot if I can't be the diver. Only, let's get going, huh? Before I change my mind.
Okay, let's, huh?
My studies and calculations had seemed crystal clear back at Tarpon Springs. But now that we were on our way, I wondered how sure anyone could be when he had to contend with such tricky currents.
Alex, there's a time when it's reasonably safe. It depends on the tide, mostly.
Well, how do you know that?
Well, I don't, really. But I do know that the currents are not constant. I noticed that, and so did Demetrius. And I think that I figured out almost exactly when I can count on a minimum amount of turbulence.
For how long?
Well, it's hard to say. It could be for as long as a half an hour.
Or just for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, do me a favor this time. Don't cut the line.
Well, you give me enough slack and I won't.
Time already?
Yeah, it's just about. I'll see you all later, huh?
Sure. See you later.
Mike. Good luck.
I swam down toward the cave. It was just the time that I figured the currents would be the weakest. If I was wrong, well, anything could happen. But I seemed to be right. The water was calm, and I didn't hear any bells. I was right about the sponges, too. There they were, hundreds of them, and prime ones at that. For a moment, I almost forgot about the mermaid and happily gathered big sponges for Alex and Marie. It was still quiet, so I decided to send up the sponges on my safety line and explore the cave.
Hey, it's Mike.
It's Mike. Oh, Alex.
Sponges!
As I entered the cave, the current began to suck me in again. It didn't seem as strong as before, so I went along with it. There were those bells again. Very faint, but I could hear them. Suddenly, there in front of me was the grim reminder of what might be in store for me. The mournful remains of other divers who had been pulled into the cave before me. The bells were getting louder. The current was getting stronger. I realized that I'd have to get out of there in a hurry, or not get out at all. Then I discovered the secret of the bells. A heavy old anchor chain that clanged as the current ran through. And beyond this, there she was, finally, incredibly, the mermaid.
What's happened to him?
Honey, I don't know.
Well, he's gone. He's gone.
Hey, give me a hand.
Oh, Mike.
Mike.
Oh, golly, Mike. Are we ever glad to see you? Oh, gee.
I see you got my present.
Yeah, prime sponges. From the cave?
That's right. And that's not all. Look.
Well, that's the mermaid?
That's the mermaid. She doesn't look so frightening up here, does she? No, she wasn't so very frightening up here. A carved wooden figure from the prow of an old wreck. Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. You know, 3/5 of the world is covered by the sea. And how little most of us know about that underwater world. Go below with us again next week, huh? For another thrilling adventure in Sea Hunt.
name is Mike Nelson. My job, underwater research. In my field of work, the understanding of underwater detonation is quite essential. The Navy taught me how to handle and respect underwater explosives of different kinds. But I never knew that one day, long after I had left the Navy, underwater explosives would nearly cost me my life. I had received a telegram asking me to charter an amphibian plane and fly up to the operating headquarters of the Hodges Engineering and Contracting Corporation in Canada. The wire didn't say what the assignment was. I would be told when I got there. If I didn't care to stay after that, I would return immediately with all expenses paid. When the amphibian landed, I was transferred to a launch and taken out to a barge moored in the channel. The wire said that I was to see Mrs. Evelyn Hodges. It didn't say that she was a very exceptional woman. Exceptional in a lot of ways. And with a very exceptional assignment for me. But she came at it very indirectly.
Mr. Nelson, I'm Evelyn Hodges. Good to see you.
Mrs. Hodges, nice to see you. Oh, it's quite a barge you got here. In your letter, you weren't very detailed about what I'm supposed to do.
Well, I think this is the easiest way to tell you about this job, Mr. Nelson. We keep it around to remind ourselves while we're out here.
Oh, yes, I remember this. That was terrible. This is just about where it happened, isn't it?
We're moored directly over the rock that sank this ship. Up here we call it Killer Rock. In the past 90 years, over 75 ships have gone down here. At least 1,000 people have drowned. Mr. Nelson, this is one of the worst shipping hazards in the world. Let me show you what it looks like. Our company has just been given the contract to blow the whole top right off that.
How does your company plan to do that?
Well, it's pretty involved. We start from that island. Right here. Drill a tunnel down here, across the bottom, up into the rock, and fill these tunnels with explosives.
Oh, that's pretty ambitious. There's been talk about doing this now for some time, isn't it?
Yes. Other companies have been offered the contract and turned it down. Russ, my husband, is our chief engineer, and he's determined to lick it. But he needs help, Mr. Nelson, and that's where you would come in. I guess I'd better tell you about it as long as Mr. Hodges isn't here to do it himself.
Well, where is Mr. Hodges?
Somewhere below us right now. Alone. The diver we worked with quit.
I suppose that should have been my first warning. The very fact that he would dive alone in tricky waters like these. No diver should go down without a partner. I sometimes do it when I don't want to involve others in danger. But just the same, it isn't right. And Hodges, no matter how dedicated he was to surveying Killer Rock underwater, to bringing back geological samples for analysis, had no business down there alone. What finally brought him up was the need for a fresh supply of air.
You must be Mike Nelson. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Mr. Hodges?
I trust you two came to terms and all that?
Yes, Mrs. Hodges took care of everything. Very satisfactorily.
She usually does. You know, she really runs this company. Well, what do you say? You ready to go to work? How long will it take you to get into your gear?
Right now?
Sure, why not right away?
Well, as your new diving buddy, I'd like to make a few suggestions first.
All right, go ahead.
That weight belt of yours.
What about it?
Wearing the outside of your harness, you know that. You got no safety release on it. What's going to happen when you're down there and you want to get rid of it all of a sudden?
I tell you, Mike, I don't think I'll be in any kind of a situation that I can't handle.
You better have a safety release on that. And wear it on the outside of your harness, huh?
Okay. Now can we go to work?
You usually throw your tank down like that?
Oh, why not? It's empty. That's why I came up, to get a fresh one.
Oh, it's not the tank. It's the regulator that I'm concerned with.
Why? What's wrong with it?
Keep it up. Like that, huh? And it won't get damaged, and your hose won't get cut.
You know he's right. That's good stuff, Mike. I'll tell you what. Why don't you take charge of all this gear, huh? I'll handle the survey. Incidentally, Evie, I'm down 60 feet with it already. If Mr. Nelson would just get into his gear, I'd like to start where I left off, huh?
I hope you don't mind my making suggestions. I'd like to feel free to whenever I think it's necessary.
Oh, that's fine. As long as it doesn't involve a lot of diving falderall, it's going to slow us up. Well, come on, Mike, let's get wet. You can change over the boat, huh?
I'll be right with you, Mr. Hodges.
Russ!
Be right with you, Russ.
Before we went down, I felt sure there'd be trouble. Underwater, I felt it even more surely. Russ wasn't content to swim at a normal pace. He charged along as if he had to break speed records. I swam at my own pace. Ahead of us, we could see the wrecks of ships that had died on Killer Rock. A frightening reminder of the importance and urgency of our job. We had entered an area with strong currents. I signaled him that we should connect ourselves with a safety line. He motioned me off. He didn't want to take the time. Our first crisis was coming fast. For deep below the surface, a tremendous discovery was waiting for us. Russ saw it first. At least 90 feet down. The mouth of a cave that seemed to lead right into the rock. This could be the luckiest break in the world. If this cave went far enough and close enough to the top of the rock, there would be no need to dig dangerous tunnels. The explosives could be planted right in the cave. Russ couldn't wait to investigate it. He couldn't tell much from the outside of the cave. Russ signaled that he was going in. It was foolhardy with the amount of air we had left, but I couldn't stop him. I didn't know what was in that cave, or what might happen in it. But whatever Mr. Hodges was getting himself into, I wasn't going to be far behind. Russ and I were in an underwater cave inside Killer Rock, which was responsible for the sinking of dozens of ships. If the cave was long enough to fill with dynamite, we could destroy Killer Rock forever. But more important to me at the moment were the time, the pressure, our supply of air, and the fact that my partner was once again racing ahead of me, with no thought of the dangers that he might be running into. It didn't take Russ long to create his own danger. In his impatience, he caught his intake hose on a rock. He twisted toward it to free it. And then as he turned back, he inhaled water instead of air. The rock had torn his hose. He panicked. I quickly gave him air from my tank. He signaled that he was okay. Then I started to lead him out of the cave and up to the surface. There was no argument this time.
Oh, honey, you sure had the right idea when you sent for Mike. He just saved my life.
Thanks, Mike.
Your husband's a good diver, Mrs. Hodges. It's just that he's in too much of a hurry. He's moving too fast.
We found a cave. It can be a shortcut for the entire project. All we have to do is fill it with explosive.
If it's near enough to the top of the rock.
Well, we'll find that out just as soon as I have a few seconds rest, huh?
No. We're going to lay off till this afternoon. Then we'll go down and take a look. Okay?
Okay, boss.
We explored the cave together, this time my way. We took samples of the rock. We made diagrams and drawings at every level and turn. We made a complete record of depths and made careful measurements of distances. Finally, we drew an accurate diagram showing all the passages of the cave. The structure of Killer Rock was everything that Russ had hoped for. There was just one hitch.
What's the problem, Mike?
Oh, this amount of rock above the caves, it means that it would take at least 20 tons of neotrophene Y3 to blow it.
Well, we've got 20 ton.
No, that's not the problem. It's getting it in there. See those narrow areas? Here. Well, it'd mean that only one man at a time would be able to get through those passages.
And we can't get enough neotrophene in there before Winters stops us. That means more ships might go down. Unless we use something else.
Liquid nitro?
Yeah.
Forget about liquid nitro. It's too unstable.
Evelyn, you know as well as I do, a gallon of liquid nitro is equal to a whole ton of dynamite.
But dynamite is safe to work with. Liquid nitro can go up any time with just one sharp jolt. And I know who you think is going to take that liquid nitro in. You. No, Russ. I won't hear of it.
Now, look, just one man working alone can get enough liquid nitro into that cave to blast Killer Rock off the face of the earth once and for all, and in plenty of time. Now, they don't get mad. I'll leave it to Mike. Am I right or wrong?
He's right. It could be done. Just about 20 dives.
Yes. If he didn't blow himself to kingdom come first.
Oh, Evie.
Have you ever worked with liquid nitro, Mike?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have. What your husband wants to do would be dangerous, but it's possible. You could put each bottle of nitro in a separate can, surrounded with sponge rubber, made shock absorbent in every possible way. Only one man would be allowed to handle it. Always the same man. He's very, very careful. Could be done.
I just won't allow it.
What if Russ agreed to let me be that man?
I would still say no. Absolutely not.
You'll need a safety man, Mike. That'll be my job. Now, honey, that's how we're going to do it.
Oh, why can't you wait?
Why? You know very well. This is why.
It's worth trying, Mrs. Hodges. We'll play it safe. Trust me, huh? I packed each bottle of the explosive with every precaution. Even so, I knew that liquid nitro was so unstable it could be exploded even by a badly timed hiccup. I handled each one of those cans as though it was a day-old baby. No mother ever gave anything such loving care. They say a good diver should be able to hold his breath underwater for long periods. On this job, I didn't need anything else to make me hold my breath. It was all I could do to keep breathing. The passages into Killer Rock were long, but while I carried the nitro, they seemed endless. Russ acted as my safety man, with a spare air tank. If I didn't return by a prearranged time, he'd come after me. He felt honor-bound to share the risk, but almost as much as anything else, I was afraid that he'd try to help me when I didn't need help. The currents in the long passages changed without warning. One updraft knocked my head against the roof of the cave. The can slipped from my hands. I must have been living right, for if ever I had a charmed life, that was the time. It seemed hard to believe. I was carefully putting the last can in place. I still had to string the wire for the detonator. It led from the shore of a nearby island where the nitro safely could be set off from a blockhouse.
All I had to do now was connect the wire to the terminals of the detonator can. Everything was going smoothly. Our job was almost over. It seemed impossible that anything could happen now. Suddenly I saw it. An electric eel nibbling on the detonator wire. The shock he could deliver could knock a man unconscious, and it wouldn't take nearly that much electricity to detonate the cave full of nitro. I watched the eel and held my breath, trying to think. If I moved toward him and frightened him, well, goodbye, Killer Rock. Goodbye, Mike Nelson. Goodbye, Russ Hodges. The thought of Russ made it worse. He was waiting outside the cave, and the time agreed upon was almost up. If he came tearing in from the other side, the eel would be just as likely to fire his charge. Yet there was no way that I could pass that eel without frightening it. Time was running out. The eel was still there, still in contact with that wire. And I knew that Russ was starting toward us now. Couldn't wait any longer. My crowbar had an insulated handle. If my first blow could get the eel away from the wire, we had a chance. It worked. Killer Rock had lost its last chance to kill us. H hour for Killer Rock was at 0900 next morning. The killer became the killed in one of the most awesome explosions this side of the atom. And the headline that served to remind a man of his duty was now at last truly a story of the past.
I'll be back next week at the same time with another sea hunt story. Plan to be with us again, huh?
I'm Mike Nelson. Business? Well, just about anything. Underwater. This job was a technical one. I had to take slow-motion underwater photographs of the action of an outboard motor in operation. I was concentrating on operating the camera, which was why I didn't notice my visitor at first. When I did see her, I waved her off. I didn't want anyone getting in the way. I checked the light again with my underwater exposure meter. Suddenly, I felt the meter being pulled out of my hand. Before I realized what had happened, she had swum off with it. I couldn't work without that meter. I wanted to catch her and wring her neck. But catching her wasn't as easy as I'd expected. Whoever she was, she cut through the water like a torpedo. She got to the dock before I could reach her.
What an asinine stunt that was. What was the idea? What are you trying to prove?
Prove? Why, something simple. That I can outswim any man on Earth, including the famous Mike Nelson.
Perhaps I can explain, Mr. Nelson. I'm Taylor Field, Public Relations Counselor. Allow me to introduce Blaze Green.
Oh, Blaze Green, yeah, I remember. You swam the English Channel about 3 or 4 months ago. In a bikini bathing suit.
Nobody complained about the view.
Oh, you must be pretty proud of yourself. That was quite a publicity stunt. Just don't pull any more stunts like the one you just pulled, or I'll have you hauled in as a public nuisance.
Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't just a publicity stunt. Blaze was trying to prove a point.
You see, Mike, I believe I'm good, better than any man alive.
The Daily World has already agreed to sponsor it.
Sponsor what?
A race. What a race. On sea scooters from the California coast to Catalina Island underwater. It'll make newsreels, TV, and every newspaper in the country.
The channel between here and Catalina Island is a terrifically dangerous piece of water. It's full of turbulence, currents, anything you can name. You get 20 or so skin divers in there across the channel, and you're bound to end up with at least one casualty.
Not 20 divers, just 2. Blaze Green versus Mike Nelson. For a first prize of $5,000.
Miss Green, I don't sit on flagpoles, I don't dive off bridges. I'm no stuntman. Just a guy making a living, working underwater. Working, not playing games.
Mike. You don't mind if I call you Mike? You have to understand how this is going to look to the papers. When Taylor here tells them that the famous Mike Nelson refused to race against me because he was terrified of having a hole punched in his big, fat reputation. Now, we wouldn't want that to happen, would we?
Okay. On one condition. Whoever wins, you or I, agrees to donate the $5,000 prize money to the County Water Safety Project.
Now, wait a minute. That's a lot of money. I don't think we should.
Relax, Taylor. You're pretty fast in the clinches, Mike. But so am I. Okay, it's a deal.
I'd accepted Blaze's challenge for a special reason, because it gave me an opportunity to give the scooters a tough test. I didn't know yet that this race was going to be a severe test for the participants, too. One I'd never forget. A week later, I found myself in the middle of an aquatic circus. There were hydroplane races and stunts, including some fancy jumps. Then there were water ski exhibitions. The star attraction, apparently, was to be Blaze Green versus Mike Nelson.
Preparations are almost finished, folks, and the race will start in just a few moments. Mike Nelson and Blaze Green are getting into the water now, ready to start. They're all set, folks, and we're on the Sonar Queen, ready to follow them. They're ready? On your mark, get set, and off.
We'd barely started when Blaze cut right in front of me. I figured that it was due to lack of experience in maneuvering the scooter. She now had a slight lead. At first, we stayed close to the bottom, taking advantage of the calmer water here near the shoreline. The underwater scenery of kelp and rocks was beautiful, and I began to think that the race would be fun. Then, when we were farther out, Blaze turned around. I could see something in her hand, but I couldn't make out what it was until she used it. She released a cloud of underwater dye. It blocked my view for a few seconds, and when I came out of it, she had a really good lead. I realized then that when she cut me off before, it was no accident. This was notice that Blaze intended to win any way she could.
Be sure to stay tuned to this station for further developments in this underwater race. We return you now to our main studios. What now, Taylor?
Now we follow them on sonar. Let's take a look.
Okay.
There they are now.
Our scooters were exactly matched for speed. All I could do was wait for the right break, in which experience would count.
First buoy.
We're at the first buoy now, and at this very moment in the ocean below us, Blaze Green and Mike Nelson should be changing air tanks by now.
It was at the first buoy that I got that break, the one that I was waiting for. Changing tanks was an old story to me, but a problem for Blaze. I gained about a minute, a precious minute.
guessed you warned the divers there's whales in the vicinity.
Hey, Skipper. That plane up there, he's radioing a warning. There's a school of whales heading across the channel, dead ahead of us.
Are they dangerous?
Not to us, but maybe to Mike and Miss Green down below.
Wow. Here's a flash bulletin, folks. A new and exciting development in the underwater contest below.
I'd managed to work up a good lead when I saw trouble dead ahead. A whale. Then another. It was a school of whales, forming a living roadblock right in front of us. I signaled to Blaze to stop, and she began to slow down. But then, before I could move, she gave her scooter the gun and headed straight for the school. For a second, I couldn't believe it. Then I realized that Blaze had no idea how dangerous a whale could be. One casual nudge from its tail and she'd be broken in half. After a quick look, she went right on through the school.
I don't see anything. Most of the whales probably sounded when they heard us coming. Let's get back to the sonar.
One of them's gone crazy, going right through those whales.
Must be Nelson. But he's risking Blaze's life. I'll sue him.
Blaze was lucky, very lucky to get through unhurt. She had a nice lead on me now, because I had sense enough to wait until the school passed. I caught sight of her at buoy number 2. She'd already put on her fresh air tanks. She was taking mine and dropping them to the bottom. And the bottom here was about 400 feet down. She needed a good spanking, but I didn't have the time to give it to her. My air was running out. I had to get those tanks. It was close, awfully close. Without the scooter, I never would have made it. My air was just about finished, and I shifted tanks as fast as I could. Now I couldn't afford to waste a second. We were about halfway to Catalina Island. I knew this area pretty well. There were some shortcuts that I wouldn't use ordinarily, but they could help me make up time. We were heading for a seamount, a submarine mountain. The usual way to cross a mountain is over the top, but I was going straight through it. It was a natural tunnel with a fast current. It felt like riding a bobsled with no way out but straight ahead. I just hoped that nothing got in my way. I found a stopping point to check my compass. The passageway wasn't easy to follow. I saw Blaze as soon as I broke into the clear, and she saw me. Suddenly, I felt something strange. It was like a firm shove, as if something was pushing the water ahead of it, toward me. Something big. I had to get to her, fast. because I knew what was coming. That gentle shove that I'd felt was the first hint of a tremendous underwater turbulence. This was a rare, terrifying underwater phenomenon. The only thing to do was to ride with it, not fight its power. I waved her back, but she was too suspicious. So I tried to catch her by surprise. I had to stop her. And right before my eyes, she ran into the full force of it.
We're about even again. Almost up to the last buoy.
I'll still bet on Mike Nelson.
What is he, half fish?
It all happened in seconds, but it seemed much longer. Blaze was slammed around, then thrown free and carried away helplessly. I tried to keep outside the turbulence and still stay up to Blaze, waiting for an opportunity to pull her free, but it was too strong, and she was moving too fast. There was one chance. If I rode with the turbulence, I could stand its force, and using the scooter, I might be able to catch Blaze. I had to try.
I'll broadcast another spot report at the buoy.
Hey, something's happening. What is that? What's that mean? I don't know. It looks like something grabbed one of them and carried him down. 50, 70, 100 feet.
Which one?
I can't tell.
See her trying to swim against the pressure of the current, which was the one thing that she shouldn't do. She dropped her scooter, but kept struggling desperately. She certainly had plenty of fight in her. She was almost exhausted when I reached her. For the first time, she seemed really frightened, and I couldn't blame her. I planned to ride out the turbulence, but I knew that Blaze would be short of air because of her struggle. We had to take a long chance and try to dive under the current. The only difficulty was it might go deeper than we could. And if it did, well, I didn't want to think about that. We moved down rapidly. It wasn't my scooter that was taking us. It was the current. The deeper we went, the less force that it had. But I didn't know how much longer Blaze's air would last, or what depth that she could stand. When we finally did get clear, I knew that we'd have to surface dangerously fast, and I thought Blaze was beginning to black out already. I wondered if the Sonar Queen would be close.
They're coming up. But only one of them. Who? Which one? I don't know. How are we tracking them? Right on top of them, sir. They're coming up fast. Or one of them is.
All ready the recompression chamber. Cut the engine. There they are.
We came up, and there she was. I was never so glad to see a boat in my life.
What's the matter with Blaze?
She got the bends. Get the recompression chamber ready.
It's ready. What about you?
I'm going back down. Throw me down the tank. All right, drop it. All right.
There was only room for one person in the chamber, so I went down below again with a fresh tank to recompress by slow stages.
And that's the story, folks. An amazing undersea rescue against fantastic odds. Wait a minute, they're opening the recompression chamber now. And she's all right. Blaze Green is all right.
Down here, huh? How you feeling now, huh?
Like a wet pretzel. Like a very grateful wet pretzel.
Now you're going to hear from Blaze herself about her amazing rescue.
Get away with that thing, will you?
No, please, Mike. I want to say something.
You never give up, do you? Publicity, publicity. That's all you ever think about.
I just wanted to say one thing. I tried to win this race any way I could, including cheating.
Blaze, what's the matter with you?
I nearly got myself killed in the process. Mike Nelson saved my life by risking his own. And I want to make a public apology to him. As far as I'm concerned, he's won everything in sight. I mean that, Mike.
But Blaze! Relax, Taylor. There are some times when even Blaze Green doesn't need publicity.
Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. You know, 3/5 of the world is covered by the sea. And how little most of us know about that underwater world. Go below with us again next week, huh? For another thrilling adventure in Sea Hunt.
I'm Mike Nelson. My job this trip was surveying some inland lakes for one of the American republics. With the help of my teammate, Rodolfo Cordoba, a local engineer. This underwater survey had been a rough job from the start. Now suddenly it became a whole lot rougher. Our cruiser gave us some protection against that rifle fire from shore.
What's this all about?
I don't know. I couldn't see anybody.
Indians?
Could be. This is wild country. Some of the tribes are still hostile to strangers.
I'm glad they're not very good shots.
Mike, this wasn't part of the deal. You're a guest of my country. If anything should happen to you, I'd never forgive myself.
Don't let that bother you. Something could happen to you, too, you know.
Oh, I'm supposed to take risks. It's my job. But I can't ask you to.
Wonder why they're not out looking for us.
I don't like it, Mike.
Maybe they don't have any boats.
More than likely they're waiting till dark to use them. I'm going to radio the capital for some soldiers.
Oh. It'll be days before they get here. See, maybe we can get through tonight. We won't need them.
If we get through.
This project is too important to be held up by a sniper. The government's in a hurry for this survey.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to get our boat out of range of this firing. Keep low now.
We broke for the far end of the lake and made it. We stayed there overnight. Then headed back. The riflemen stayed out of sight, so we decided to resume operations. I'd no sooner gone back to work than my slate got away from me. Carried away, I mean, by a surprisingly swift current. I checked my wrist compass and found that the current was moving south-southeast. That was something that I wanted to tell my teammate Rudy right away.
It's quite a current down there.
Well, forgive me, Mike, but it isn't surprising, is it, finding a current in a lake this size?
But this current goes south-southeast. Toward those mountains that separate this lake from the other one.
So?
So, suppose that current goes underground. It continues flowing south, underneath those mountains, and into the other lake.
It's possible. Just a minute. Yes. Yes, it could. Mike, do you realize what this means?
It means that nature may be digging that canal for us.
Exactly. It may be necessary only to follow the underground current, plant explosives along it, and blast the mountains from below.
You simmer down now. We haven't even found an underground current.
Well, it must flow out of this lake someplace. All we have to do is find out where, huh?
Locating the current again was easy. Finding the point where it flowed out of the lake was a lot harder. We tracked the current finally to the southern end of the lake and lost it there in a maze of rocks. Then we decided to let science do our detective work with a container of radioactive dye as our bloodhound. I released the dye in the water and let the current take it on its way, I hoped, to its sister lake beyond the hills. The next step was getting there ourselves. We anchored the cruiser in a secluded cove and made it to shore in a rubber raft.
I hate to leave the boat.
She'll be here when we get back.
How can you be so sure?
She's not going to go anywhere without these. Taking the spark plugs along guaranteed the boat would still be there when we got back. If we did.
Okay, boy. There we go.
The lakes were less than a mile apart as the crow flies. The way we had to go made it a lot longer and hotter with the heavy equipment that we were toting. We didn't see anybody, but we could almost feel them. And then, without warning, they made their move. Close one.
An old Indian trick.
Wonder how many more tricks they got up their sleeve. Come on. Maybe they had sensed our anger and decided to leave us alone. They left us alone for quite a while, mile after mile. Then, just as we sighted the last hill between us and the second lake,
Cover me. Mike, wait. Cover me.
they left behind? From a carbine. A late model carbine.
But Indians don't have guns like this.
I know.
These are from professional soldiers.
Huh?
Rebels, maybe. They're at it again.
You want to go back?
I wouldn't go back for anything in the world, Mike. But you can.
We pushed on. We had to. We'd long since passed the point of no return. We made it safely to the second lake, inflated our rubber raft, stowed our essential equipment in plastic bags, and headed for the northern shore. "50 yards out was where it happened. Luckily, our Geiger counter came through the attack unharmed. Now, if the counter could pick up any trace of unusual radioactivity in this lake, we'd know that there was a connection with the first lake, an underground channel, and the Geiger counter might guide us to it. We swam toward the lake's northern shore, where the radioactivity should be strongest. But our Geiger counter indicated only the normal amount. We were just about to turn back when up ahead we spotted the entrance to a cave. We swam to it and thrust the counter ahead of us. It responded with a clatter. The radioactive dye had come through. The two lakes were connected. I was as excited as Rudy, but we still had a big question to answer. Was this channel wide enough all the way for a man to get through? The channel turned out to be just wide enough for one-way traffic. The other way. We had to battle the current every yard and use up our limited air supply nearly twice as fast as normal. About 10 minutes into the channel, we came to an opening in its roof. We couldn't have reached the first lake this quickly. I knew that, but I didn't know where else we could be.
Where are we, Mike? What is this?
Some kind of a cave.
I wonder where that light is coming from.
It's gotta come from the outside.
Then there must be an entrance to the cave from above ground.
It's sure worth taking a look. Come on.
As far as I could tell, we were in a huge natural cavern inside one of the many hills that we'd crossed on our way to the second lake.
They're rebels, all right.
There's enough war material here to really start big trouble. Aranda. This is Aranda's supply depot. It's got to be.
Aranda, the ex-dictator?
Yes. When the government drove him from power, he swore he'd march on the capital someday again. And set up the old tyranny again.
Looks like he meant what he said. So these are the guys that have been sniping at us, huh?
We've got to stop him.
I don't know if we can stop him, but we might be able to slow him up a little. That bag of yours. I think I put in some charges, some detonating stuff, you know, so see if you can find it. There's a encryption tool in there, too, huh? About 20 minutes leeway.
Do you think we can get to the channel by then?
We've got to. That's all the air we got left.
What's the matter, Michelle?
How'd you like?
We couldn't escape above ground. This supply depot had to be well guarded. So back we went underwater into the channel, knowing that we had less than 20 minutes to reach the end of the channel and the lake beyond it, or be smashed to bits against the walls by the force of the explosion behind us. We made the best time that we could along the winding passage, hoping that it would stay this wide all the way. It didn't. It narrowed at this point into a natural bottleneck. Neither of us could get through, not with our bulky tanks on our backs. Without them, we might. We just possibly might make it. We made it all right, but we had less than 5 minutes worth of air in our tanks now. I mean, I did. Rudy's supply was just about gone. The exertions he'd made and his inexperience with a diving lung had caused him to use up his air much faster. He was in trouble right now. We'd got into this together, and that was the only way that I wanted to get out. I began sharing my air supply with him, for as long as it lasted. 3 minutes, and that was it. I heard it, and then I felt it, thrusting through the water like a tidal wave. The wave hit us, but didn't smash us against the walls of the channel. Instead, it thrust us out and up into the lake like a giant broom. With the last of our strength, we made it to shore.
It worked, Mike? It worked?
Just like in the storybooks. We saved our lives and wrecked Aranda's plans. I don't know where our boat is. How about you, huh? You think you feel strong enough to see if we can find it?
Oh, I have to. I must radio my government. They will want to send some troops to mop up the rebels.
You give them a message for me, will you?
Yes. What is it?
Survey completed. Demolition work already started. Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. You know, 3/5 of the world is covered by the sea. And how little most of us know about that underwater world. Go below with us again next week, huh? For another thrilling adventure in Sea Hunt.
Every rocket launched into space has a mission. Most important of all is to bring back vital information recorded by instruments in the nose cone. As most of these rockets plummet into the sea, I was called in to assist an advanced experimental unit. My assignment was to recover the nose cones underwater as quickly as possible. After a long search, I was getting an indication on a special type detector designed to respond to directional signals from the nose cone. They became stronger and guided me in. As I prepared to send up a marker buoy, I knew for sure the recoveries were taking too long. I didn't know how dangerous they could be. 3 weeks later, I hobbled into the office of Dr. Bartok, the scientist who directed the XM rocket series of experiments.
Pretty rough getting around.
A little.
Yeah, that was a mighty close call, Mike. I can't hold you to this contract.
Oh, close calls are part of my business. What bothers me is the time it takes to locate the nose cones.
Yeah, that's right. Well, here's the record. Average time in 12 recoveries, 14 hours. 6 nose cones not recovered at all.
Yeah, that's the trouble. If we don't find them fast, we don't find them at all. What I need is a new operating procedure.
What else is there to do but to swim down and search for them?
No, my detector isn't doing the job. Let's see now, when's our next flight? The 25th?
The 25th, yeah.
Well, by then my leg ought to be okay. And by that time, I ought to have something new to show you. On the 25th, we were alerted for the flight and re-entry of the XM-17 rocket. We had received initial vectors to guide us from a rocket tracking ship. Our own scanning devices homed us to the impact area. To recover the nose cone of the XM-17, I was going to rely on speed. The boat would get us to the approximate area rapidly. A power unit would give me speed for the underwater search. While I went astern to ready for my jump-off, Dr. Bartok kept watching to sight the splash point. When we reached the impact zone, my underwater scooter gave me good speed. It also enabled me to maneuver freely. But neither speed nor freedom of movement was enough. We struck out on the XM-17. I decided to use a midget submarine as an underwater missile chaser. I gained one big advantage. I could carry additional air tanks in the sub. This permitted me to search underwater for a long period without surfacing. But the sub was slow. I couldn't maneuver as well as I could with a scooter, and my visibility was limited. Despite hours of searching, I didn't find the XM-20 at all. The midget sub wasn't the answer. To achieve the speed and visibility that I wanted, I rigged an underwater sled. I was able to control my depth in the water, but it was too difficult to direct the course of the boat that towed me. I soon realized that a sea sled wasn't the answer either. When the X-24 was launched, I was determined not to fail. I knew that I had to combine speed, maneuverability, and good detection equipment. To attain speed, I went back to boats. We were using a large one, guided visually and by radar to reach the impact area. Then I boarded a secondary search boat for the final phase. It was a fast outboard with a sensitive metal detector fixed to its hull. The pickup of the device extended into the water on a boom. Watching the instruments for indications as we executed a wide search pattern. About 120 seconds after reaching the area, the boom began to pick up weak signals. As we zeroed in close to our target, my assistant and I headed for the bottom.
Are you certain that you can always duplicate the speed of that last recovery?
Boy, it's all simple equipment. A boat, a detector, and me. Nothing much to go wrong.
All right. In that case, the XM series will be changed to PXM. P for passenger.
Well, if it's all right with them, it's all right with me.
They have to be recovered within 1 hour of impact.
Oh, don't you worry, boy. I'll get you up in time. After a flight through space, Dr. Bartok's mice and the vital information they could reveal were sealed in a capsule inside a nose cone somewhere on the ocean bottom. My job was to reach them before their limited air supply was exhausted.
Let's go.
Dr. Bartok had given me a diagram to enable me to remove the airtight plate quickly and recover the capsule.
choice.
That's so much for PXM-1. Next, the white rat. Then guinea pig, rabbit, monkey. I've scheduled 32 flights.
Well, let's hope that we'll have 32 recoveries, huh?
In the course of the next 3 months, I accomplished the recoveries as scheduled. My operating procedure was working well. This recovery would be the last of the PXM series. I was looking for a space passenger named Angel Face. We called our passenger Angel Face not because of her looks, but because her flight took her closer to the angels than any animal had been before. Unfortunately, she couldn't tell us about her trip. But through his stethoscope, Dr. Bartok got the story that he was looking for.
She came through it beautifully. Well, that's the end of the PXM series. 100% success. Calling my next series the HXM series.
Next series? I thought this was the end of it. HXM. What's the H for?
H for human.
Human?
We've been working on it for months in the laboratory, under simulated conditions.
Yeah, no. Good, for real. Who's it gonna be? The first human?
Me.
Using animals for experiments in space was one thing. But now Dr. Bartok, the director of the rocket series, was determined to be shot into space himself, inside a nose cone. In addition to an air supply for the capsule, he would carry an underwater breathing apparatus of special design for the ascent from the nose cone. I checked him out on it. A new miniature tape recorder combined with a throat microphone would go out into space with him. With this unit, he would continuously record his sensations, his reactions, and all the physiological data which a scientist could discern. This would provide a valuable record for future analysis. His flight was programmed to ascend 400 miles above the Earth and to return to a predetermined sector of ocean. But at this point, I was more concerned about Dr. Bartok than about any data that he might gather.
The target area is this 1 square mile in the ocean right there. What are you worried about?
Well, I know it all proves out, but...
Mike, the underwater ejection is completely automatic. In 1 minute, or at a depth of 40 feet, whichever is sooner, the capsule is ejected from the nose cone by compressed air.
If it works, but what if it doesn't? And you don't come up to the surface?
I will. And you're going to be standing by to pick me up. What could be simpler?
Well, I can think of a lot of things.
One week from today, Monday, 6 a.m.
It was Monday, August 3rd, the most important day in the logbook of the rocket experiments. Dr. Bartok was inside a capsule within the nose cone of that missile. Incredible and frightening, yet it was happening. And it was my responsibility to recover him, alive. We were using the system that had worked well before. But this time, we counted on an additional safety factor. That Dr. Bartok's capsule would be automatically ejected and rise to the surface. minutes ago. Maybe something did go wrong. I can't wait any longer. I realized immediately that the ejector mechanism must have failed for some reason. That meant Bartok's life would depend on his limited air supply. I kept scanning the surface while Noam was watching the dials of the detector. Minutes. The sensitive metal detector had done its job, but it had led us to an old wreck. We had lost crucial minutes reaching it. I headed back toward the boat. Only a few hundred yards away, Dr. Bartok's nose cone was wedged into a rocky bottom, but I didn't know it. All I knew was that if he was still alive, he was desperately waiting for us to find him.
Sensation, acceleration. G-forces are within human physical tolerance. Johnville experiments confirmed. Psychological hazard much greater. My sensation, like I was at the bottom of a deep well, with a mile-high pile driver resting on me, pressing me, smothering me. Physiological effects. Stomach sensation. In weightless condition, danger point. Tendency to throw up. Wearing of oxygen mask presents danger of strangulation. More research needed.
Another indication.
Yeah, well, there's only 20 minutes left. You better not be wrong this time. Double back, half speed.
On physical and mental sensations, I have nothing further to report. Failure of underwater ejection due to chance. Judging by the angle at which I'm lying, rear closure plate is blocked by ocean bottom. One thing more. Martha, dear, please don't grieve for me. The moon and the stars can be had. If only you're willing to pay the price. I gladly pay my share.
Only 10 minutes left. We had to be near the nose cone. We had to be.
That's it. Here, hold it in. I'll stop.
We had found it this time. But how are we going to get Dr. Bartok out? The cone was wedged tightly on its base. I could see that we wouldn't be able to move the nose cone ourselves.
Give me a crowbar and a 1-inch line, and attach the other end of it onto your stern. Okay, Norm, get aboard. You can relay my signals. Okay, Mike.
By my watch, I have only 4 minutes left. Better luck to those who will try it again.
Grab with that hook.
I attached the hook, hoping the boat would be able to dislodge the nose cone. And in time. The knocking told me Dr. Bartok was alive, but I still had to remove the plate of the jammed automatic ejector.
Perfectly, I'm sure. And with men like you, it won't be long before we'll be on the moon. Is it tied on?
Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. You know, 3/5 of the world is covered by the sea. And how little most of us know about that underwater world. Go below with us again next week, huh? For another thrilling adventure in Sea Hunt.